Hello, everyone. My name is Dana Hutchinson, and I am the lead medical herbalist and owner of the Wildflower Clinic. The Wildflower Clinic is a traditional Chinese medicine, Western clinical herbalism, and energetic health center located in Golden, Colorado. We specialize in autoimmunity, infertility, and emotional trauma. And we also pride ourselves on traditional Chinese medicine assessment, which includes tongue, pulse, nail, and skin diagnostic strategies in order to determine if there's any underlying root imbalances in an individual's body systems. Today, I'm really excited because I'm coming to you guys with a lesson on an autoimmune condition that is rarely spoken about in the complex world of autoimmunity. The condition that I'll be talking about today is a condition called Lichen Sclerosus. Now, many of you have probably not heard of lichen sclerosus before, but it is a condition that affects vaginal tissue or foreskin tissue, but can also show up in a myriad of different locations around the body. For example, on the arms, on the stomach, on the neck, but most commonly it's showing up on vaginal tissue. Now, this is a condition that I myself also have had. And I say had because it is a condition that I do consider myself in remission from. I was diagnosed such a long time ago via an external biopsy. And honestly, it was a very rough road without getting into it too much. And I really felt that the Western focus, the Western treatment options to me were very limited, and they actually made my condition quite worse. It wasn't until I actually connected with a traditional Chinese medicine doctor in Australia, where I was living at the time, until I really felt like my condition began to improve, until I started to see systemic balance. I started to have hope again that my condition might in fact improve. So let's break down what LS actually is. Lichen sclerosus symptoms are usually going to look like skin atrophy. We can see lesions, we can see red irritated skin. Most clients who have this complain of extreme skin itchiness. We also can have just extreme pain in that region, pain with intercourse, pain with any sort of touch, pain with sitting down. I know that was something I experienced when I had this condition. And so really we're thinking just irritated, red, raw skin, especially in that vulva region, affecting most commonly the labia of the vulva. Like I said, this can also show up on foreskin tissue. It is less common, but we absolutely have clients who are experiencing that as well. Now, the Western world will look at LS and say there is no cure, and also say that the increase of cancer is high. So of course that's incredibly fearful to hear. And from our opinion, we just do not think that that is correct. The only treatment option that's really available to folks on that Western front is going to be a steroid treatment externally. Clobetasol is one of the top steroids prescribed, again, on that Western front with LS patients. And, also there are estrogen creams that are prescribed for individuals on that Western front as well, but that's really it. So when you look at how alternative medicine looks at lichen sclerosus, it is vast. There's a multitude of layers that we're looking at in terms of how did this condition likely surface? Right? In Chinese medicine, we never really think a condition just kind of falls out of thin air. We're always thinking, well, what were kind of these 3 to 5 combining health factors or catalysts that had to kickstart something or had to turn on something in the body to allow this physical health presentation to present, right? So in the alternative world, we're really looking at stress response system. We're looking if there's any emotional triggers or any sort of trauma that's happened to the body, either sexually, emotionally, physically, whether that person's going through a divorce, a separation, going through loss, they're grieving something, going through a stressful job, survived a natural disaster. There's a lot of different things there that we're looking at that could have caused an issue with stress response that could have caused inflammation in this individual. We're also looking at the gut microbiome, right? Are there any viruses, bacteria, or pathogens that this person might have been exposed to throughout their life? This even includes past urinary tract infections, strep throats, infections, the list goes on there. And our main concern there is the suppression of gut microflora, right? Is this person's digestive system even working to take in appropriate nutrition to fuel their body? We're also looking at the vitality of the immune system, right? Is this person someone who's getting sick often? Do they feel like they have good breath capacity? Do they get outside? Are they moving? Right? We're looking at liver meridian, how many chemicals or environmental toxins has this person been exposed to in their life? What kind of products are they using? Have they taken birth control? Are they taking other maybe unnecessary pharmaceutical medications? Right? So we're looking at a myriad of different factors in the alternative world just on where this all could have started. Right? So, and that can be a ton of different areas. A lot of times we are seeing that lichen sclerosus is very much tied to this emotional component, right? In Chinese medicine, we call it a Shen spirit imbalance. That can be also called emotional dysregulation, central nervous system dysregulation. Basically what's happening there is our central nervous system is kind of hyper secreting things like adrenaline and cortisol, right? And that's allowing this individual to maybe be in this fight or flight stage consistently, which can absolutely affect the immune system, right? The other top thing I would say we see clinically with lichen sclerosus, of course, is damage to the gut lining. Another fancy word for that, of course, that's a buzzword in the health industry is leaky gut syndrome, right? The long and short of that is over time, this individual has been exposed to a couple causations, right? Maybe it is poor diet, processed foods, food intolerances, stress, medications, chemicals, electromagnetic frequencies, for example, mold exposures, viral exposures. The list kind of goes on that causation list. And what's happening is the buildup from those causations over the years is actually causing inflammation, right? And that inflammation is actually leading to suppression of gut flora, and it's actually starting to damage the gut lining. And there's a lot of information on our website around leaky gut, and I know our one-on-one consult clients, get a lot of this information. But truly what's happening there is you can think about the gut as, being semi-permeable, right? And we want that. We want the gut to be semi-permeable because it allows the passing of micronutrients into the bloodstream, right? Good idea to have that there, right? And our body's done that for a reason. But when I talk about the causations that can lead to the inflammation, right, that can lead to the suppression of microflora and also start to damage that gut lining, what we're starting to see is we're actually getting larger spaces in the gut lining. And that is called leaky gut. Right? So hyperpermeability, there's more space for things to get through the gut lining and enter the bloodstream. Right? And that's kind of autoimmunity 101 really that we're talking about, which applies to a myriad of autoimmune conditions. Of course, lichen sclerosus today is, our main topic. But why this is important now is because as opposed to having semi-permeability where only micronutrients is going into the bloodstream, we now have a problem. Because now that these spaces are damaged and so much larger, we're actually finding that more things, more substances can actually get through and go into that bloodstream. So hang with me here. This is where we start to see foodborne bacterias. We can see food molecules, viruses, pathogens, fungi even can now get through these larger spaces where before only micronutrients was getting through, right? Now that all of these things have basically a free passage to the bloodstream, this is where the immune system gets involved, right? And this is where it comes back full circle to our topic today, because now the T cells and the B cells, part of our innate immune system, right? They're now starting to have to work a little harder in the bloodstream. Well, why? Because now all the foodborne bacteria, the viruses, all the things that just come into our system, right, that we normally just pass through, they're now actually getting into the bloodstream. So now the T and B cells are starting to notice these things and work a little bit harder to try to get rid of them. Now, over time, when your bloodstream has too much of those things coming in, like viruses and bacteria, your immune system actually starts to attack the viruses, the bacteria, and, because of that, can start to attack your own self-tissue, right? In the case of autoimmunity, your body is mistakenly attacking your own self-tissue in a fight against something else that's underlying, right? In a lot of cases, you'll see we get blood labs back with clients. They have Epstein-Barr reactivation, right? We get stool panel tests with our LS patients, and they have H. pylori, they have C. diff, right? They have some of these large commensal bacteria overgrowths. And that's a problem, right? We got to work with that. We got to work on an antimicrobial scale, antibacterial, antiviral herbs, and really figure out how to kind of flush the system of these things if that is one of the reasons that we think they're in that state. Okay. So I hope that was helpful to kind of talk about those things. Now, in terms of how you look at LS, what could be a potential support protocol? Most of the time we're looking at three things. We're looking at herbs, we're looking at supplements, and we're looking at lifestyle here, at least at our herbal clinic. And herbs can be vast. They're always custom here, but usually we are looking at a combination of some sort of gut healing protocol, in addition to central nervous system support, liver meridian balancing, which just means giving the liver the appropriate constituents that it needs to actually function, right? To detox, to make sure it's functioning optimally. Also, we might look at areas like the sleep, maybe the circadian rhythm is off balance. And also, there's other things for the immune system we usually do on that herbal scale, which can include tinctures, sometimes powders, decoctions where you're simmering herbs, and nutritional infusions as well. On that supplement front, we're usually looking at a whole heap of antioxidants, trace minerals, really things that can help to replete an individual with LS who's likely quite deficient nutritionally. We also might look at some amino acids like L-theanine, L-glutamine, and the list kind of goes on there. NAC is another one we might consider, resveratrol, some of these amino acids or antioxidant components just to support the system. And of course, that's just an intro with supplements. There's so many things we could look at there, but herbs are usually our first protocol. We don't want to overdo it with supplements from our perspective. And then that third piece is really going to be the lifestyle, right? If you're coming to us, we really, really love giving clients education on how to start moving medicinally, right? And that looks like Qigong, the 8 brigades, starting to calm down the body, right? Move slower in this fast-paced society that just does not seem to be slowing down, especially in America. And really just giving them tools with Qigong to kind of reset their day, right? To maybe look at the sun in the morning, to stretch, to go outside and start grounding yourself. These are things we all know, but very little amount of people are doing these things consistently. Right? We want to make sure this individual is walking, maybe getting some weight training in if possible, getting outside, like I said, getting those positive ions from the earth, and, also taking a really comprehensive look at all those exposures in that individual's life. I've mentioned quite a few, like chemicals, products that they're using, how much, EMF exposure are they having? Do they have an Apple Watch and AirPods? Are they on Zoom all day? Do they live next to a power plant? These things are important to know, right? So those are just some things I hope can start, fueling your mind when looking at not only an LS patient or client, but also looking at the world of autoimmunity as a whole. It's complex, but Chinese medicine really believes that, you don't need a diagnosis to really unveil what's happening internally, right? We don't really care what the diagnosis is called medically because we're looking at the body in a totally different way. Right? We're looking at it from an organ system perspective physically, right? We're looking at it from a Shen spirit imbalance emotionally, right? And we're looking at the individual from that spiritual perspective, looking at the whites of the eyes, right? The clarity of the skin, looking at the nails for deficiencies, for answers, and, feeling the pulse in our 6 different regions, which correspond to our organ system's vitality. Right? We're looking at the tongue to give us answers of the front and the middle and the lower jowl, or, our different burners, our different areas in the system. So there's so much that we can infer from just looking and listening and, responding appropriately with a protocol. So I hope that was helpful. And, today I also just wanted to, piggyback off of the Lichen Sclerosus lesson to share that we are actually launching a new product in Lichen Sclerosus. And I'm going to introduce the product, and then I'm going to take us through a couple herbs today that I really think are standouts in this oil that might also be applicable to you herbalists listening, or, general public just learning about herbs as well. So our new product is a Lichen Sclerosus serum. And so this has taken over 2 years for us to medically formulate. And we ended up with 15 different herbs that are in this external oil. This is our box, and I just think it's beautiful. You've got some clinical actions on what this oil does, a description, and then also the herbs that are in it, like I said. This is just a quick preview of the beautiful oil with this gorgeous flower, Chinese elements, and you can just see the gorgeous color here of this oil. I love this oil. I personally use this just as a maintenance for my own lichen sclerosus condition. And, we really created it for a lot of reasons, but not all people can do one-on-one consultations. I totally understand. So this is another option for people to start working with an oil externally to start to balance pH in the vaginal region, to start to, support irritated tissue, to soothe dry, cracking skin, to potentially help to bring constituents into the tissue, to maybe get a little bit of breakage on the fusing that can happen in that region. Okay, this can also be used as a lubricant, which is fantastic. It's like a barrier oil for that, and it also has a lot of pain relieving qualities, which I'm going to go into here. So I wanted to talk about 5 herbs today that really stand out to me in this oil. And I'll keep it quick, but I do love these herbs and I'm going to share them with you. So the first one that I really like in this formula is Chinese red sage. So this is called danshen. And I love this herb as a topical. It is so nourishing. It is really great for red, irritated skin. It helps atrophy as well. A lot of clients who can get into an itch scratch cycle with LS will find that this herb is very soothing and supportive for calming down that irritation and also what can happen post itching. Right, we can irritate our own skin, lesions can develop, and things like that. So great herb that's in there. I love danshen for a myriad of other reasons, but I'll keep it short today. So let's see. The next one I want to talk about is peony root. So a beautiful Western and Chinese herb. A lot of you know peony root from an internal perspective. Not a lot of formulas have it from that external oil perspective. And I really like peony root in our LS serum because it has pain relieving qualities when extracted from that oil perspective, right? So it's helpful for people who have constant pain in that region, pain zapping, which can just kind of be like a jolt of pain to that region where the LS is. And peony root is also wonderful for helping to really increase blood flow and circulation in that region. A lot of times when we've had a biopsy down there, maybe our skin's struggling to heal, maybe we can't engage in intercourse or in any sort of intimacy, we can start to disassociate from that region of our body. And so bringing blood flow back into that region can be so advantageous to making sure that the body doesn't forget, right, that that's there, okay? The next one is a really common one, rose hips. I love rose hips. If you live in Colorado, it's absolutely everywhere right now. And I like this because it really brings antioxidants to the formula. It has a lot of vitamin C in there, as most of you know, and it really also serves as a mild demulcent. Okay, we want to bring back moisture into the skin tissue that is usually so dry and cracked. And with that demulcent train, the next one I really like in this formula is a high potency extract of licorice root. Now, licorice was one of the first creams that I actually got from my traditional Chinese medicine doctor in Australia, and it felt totally different to me than when I had used the steroid that I was prescribed initially. It felt soothing, it felt moistening. The other thing I really like about licorice is it has antiviral components, and that's a really big deal based on what we talked about before, right? Is this condition somehow tied to an underlying virus, an underlying bacteria or pathogen, right? Does this individual also have corresponding UTIs, HSV? Maybe they have BV, yeast infections, candida overgrowth, right? So I like the components of licorice root for that as well. Just keeping that area basically non-toxic, keeping that area's pH balanced as well is a really great thing to do. And you can also use pH strips. I do that with a lot of my clients. If you yourself, have LS and you're trying to figure out what's going on, I do have clients look at pH strips in that region just to see if things are off. That's always a number that we can work with to see if the vaginal pH needs a little bit of balancing. And usually it does with LS presentations. The next one and last one is astragalus. So I love astragalus. Again, a lot of you probably know astragalus more on this internal decoction front for the immune system, for supporting the wei qi or the protective qi. I really like this herb because it is so great for toxins. It helps to support our immune cells. It helps even from that external perspective. And it's really in there, again, as this antifungal, this antibacterial agent, this antiviral agent that is rarely used in an external perspective. And we've seen incredible success with this herb. Just in that external ointment or oil style. And like I always say, as herbalists speaking to herbalists, I still feel like we have so much to learn from all the different uses of even the herbs in the materia medica that we have access to, right? And that's not even considering all the different herbs that we haven't even maybe trialed or looked at in terms of applications for health, right? So I think that's special, and I think it's humbling, just especially with astragalus in this oil. It's just not used commonly externally, and I really think it's a game changer for keeping everything balanced in that region, either vaginally or on the foreskin or on other locations of the system. Well, that's all I got for you guys today. Just a little lecture on lichen sclerosus, autoimmunity, a couple standout herbs that are in our LS serum. I'm really happy with this product. And, again, if you want to take a look at it again, here's the oil that you would get, and here's the beautiful box that it comes in, and that is available on our website. But again, I hope there was a lot of good information and tools and things to consider that you guys heard today from that lifestyle perspective, just looking at the catalyst, thinking about the leaky gut, thinking about the stress and some of those other exposures that makes such a difference. Well, I will be coming up here on the Herb Rally podcast coming up soon. So I'll catch you guys all there. And otherwise, if you want to check out more about the Wildflower Clinic, you can always head to just wildflowerclinic.com. The Instagram is just Wildflower Clinic, at Wildflower Clinic. We are not on there a lot. Just for obvious reasons. We are in client consultation most days, myself and the rest of our staff here, but would love to connect if this resonated with you, and I'll look forward to seeing you guys all on the Herb Rally podcast coming up here soon with Mason. So thanks for your time today, and I hope this was really helpful for you guys.